All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're here again. The last time we were together, I mentioned a project, and this is the project. So we're going to be working on creating a knot display board, and that's what this is here. So you're going to tie your knots loosely so that you can see the shape of the knot and place them on the board where you want them to be. Now, we've got a few more knots to learn to tie yet, but we've gone through these ones already. I think we've touched on the overhand knot, the surgeon's knot, the reef knot, the bowline, the square knot, the stopper knot, the figure 8 knot here. And I've retied the figure 8 knot in a tight formation here so you can see the 90-degree angle. That's just for fun, you don't have to do that. And your board doesn't have to look precisely like this or anything. So we'll get on to that a little bit later. I wanted to show you a few things about putting these on the display boards. Now, I was going to start with cornflakes box, which you can use, and in fact, I think it might be a little bit better than what I've got here. My lovely daughter insisted that I have something I could put into a frame later on, so we found some backing board for the frame. But I have a needle here, and I'm going to just show you that I can get this needle through with a little wiggling. I can get it through the cornflakes fairly easily here. All right, I could not do that with this heavier cardboard. So to make a spot for a loop of string or a loop of wire, I have to put 2 holes in here. I'll just do 2 up here. So I've taken my knife, a sharp pointed knife with your parents' permission, and tip up your cardboard so it's not boring a hole on your table at home, and spin the knife a little bit of pressure, not too much pressure, don't get impatient, and pretty soon you'll have a hole that you can put your needle through. So I put one there and I want another one pretty close to it there, so I'll put it there and spin that. And I would do that for all the spots where I want a tie to tie the knot to the board. And so you sort of have to think about up and down and top and bottom and where the gravity is going to be pulling the knot when you put it up sideways, of course. So I think that should be pretty good. Now let me just test it with my needle here. And, well, not quite. I'm going to go a little further. What you want to end up with is a nice display of the knots that you now know how to tie. And these are quite common in people's houses. I mean, they're not totally uncommon anyway. You can sometimes see them in antique stores and stuff. There we go. Yeah, no problem there. I can get that needle through. So you can go online and look at knot display boards and get some images there and get some ideas of some of the fancier ones. We just want something simple but nicely done. So I've tied this one with a piece of string here, which is actually some fishing line that I had, some black, fairly heavyweight fishing line. So I'm just going to show you one loop here. Come on, where's my needle? And I'll tie one this way, and then I'll show you a couple of other ways of doing it. Wet down the thread, and it goes through the needle eye more easily. Come on. Come on, Mr. Saver, you can do this. Come on. I should have preloaded this. I'm not very good at these film things yet, but we'll get it. There, it's through. So I pull a little extra out. So I've got it coming down to there on one side, and now I'm going to cut a length that I'm going to use. So there we go. Put that over there. Turn my knife blade so it's away from me. And let's just tie this end on here. So I'm just going to, I think I'll come from the back. So all the other knots have fallen off, but there we go. Don't want to come through my rope. I want to go around my rope. And back down We're going to do this twice. Just give it a little extra strength. Pull it through, but don't let it come off the eye. Oh, come on now. I like sewing, but I'm not the very best at it. Okay. And once, twice, I think twice, there we go. And now we can just get rid of the needle and pull on those two threads equally and tie it off. Now, what knot are you going to use to tie it off? Well, I would suggest the reef knot. It's a good knot. And it'll take me just a minute here to do that. Here's the first basis of it. And left over right. And around and, come on, under. I hope you can see my hands, but anyway. We're going to pull the first part tight and then pull the second part down on top of it. Okay, so that should hold our little thing quite fine right there. Flip it over and cut off the extra piece of the thread here. Now that's one way of doing it. Another way to do it is to secure it with some wire. Now I've just grabbed an old twist tie here, and don't cut the twist ties with your scissors. You never cut wire with scissors, but if you wiggle it back and forth a few times, it will break. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. There we go. And I've just had to pull the plastic apart there. And this one's even easier. So I just bend this in a horseshoe and put each end through one half of the hole and anchor my twist tie at the back. Okay, I'm going to do that hole first because it's giving me a hard time. And now this hole, and put my string through, squish it down, go to the back. It's my twist ties. Give it a pigtail twist. And when you've got that done, just fold it over flat on the back. So there we are. That's two ways of securing that. Okay, so a third way would be what? Oh, yeah. We could do a little bit of gluing. We could just straight up glue this. I think I lost my surgeon's knot here. So if I wanted to attach my surgeon's knot, I could just figure out where I want a little bit of white glue. I'm going to put a little blob there. And a little blob out here somewhere. And a little blob across here, something like that. And we can set that down in there. Bring that one up to there. Squishy, squishy. And bring that one up to there. Squishy, squishy. Oops. Let's make that look a little prettier. There we go. That's our overhand knot. The glue should dry clear, and that should hold that on well enough. Third way, of course, or fourth way, of course, is use your glue gun. Just be careful, they get hot. Won't do that for now, but drilling the holes with a knife tip is one way to go. Using this lighter weight cardboard from our cereal box, you can probably get through with the needle, just punching the holes with the needle, but if you wanted to, you could take a scrap of wood and figure out where you want the holes, and an old nail, and then something to tap the nail with, and you've got a hole right through pretty instantly. That'll give us a way to put our needle through, la la la. Okay, so a couple of different ideas there. Now, when you're preparing your rope to make the knot look good, there's a couple of things I want you to try and do. Now, here is an galette, or the plastic part on the end of the old shoelace that I'm using. Well, it's not a shoelace, it's a bag lace from a paper bag, scrounged around the house. Try and use lots of recycled material if you can. So that's a nice way of finishing it off. If you haven't got galettes where you want them, you can make them. And you'll see I've made some out of masking tape here and here and here and here. And that's pretty easy to do. All you take is take a nice piece of squared off masking tape. You don't need a very big one. Let's say 3/4 of an inch. How many millimeters is that? Oh, 18. Yes, you're right. Good for you. You can convert. I hope you're remembering your math, because we're going to be doing some math like this too. All right, so about 18 millimeters. And if I was going to run an galette in the middle of this, all I would do is put it on the side and stick it down. And then I just try and roll the galette, or roll the string onto the galette. Okay, just like that. And then, of course, I can come and cut it off. I won't do it here, but I could cut that off nice and straight, which is exactly what I've done here and here and here and here. This is a little different. This is the ultimate way of finishing off rope ends in this wonderful world of knot tying. So all I did was I had a piece of the rope, and what I want to do very quickly is use another piece of this. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to teach you how to do some whipping. No, it doesn't really involve a whip. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to lay the string out in kind of an S or a Z, like that. So you've got a bend at both ends, and from this point on you're going to wrap the rope around and around and around. At the very end, you're going to put the end of the rope through that loop, and then pull on the string and close that loop up. But you're going to do all of that on the end of the rope. So let's see if I can demonstrate this in a couple of minutes. I don't want to be too long, so I don't want to do a great long wrapping or anything. I've got masking tape on my thumb. So there's the one loop. Now I start back with the second loop, and I'm just going to come up fairly close to bring the bend up fairly close to where I want to start wrapping here. 1, 2, 3. And now I want to keep it a little tight, so that jumped out in my hands. 1, 2, 3. Now I just want to pull on this loop on here by pulling one of these two strings. Now, which side is it going to be? Not that side. Come on now. So let's try this side. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So now I've got my loops tightened up, and I can continue my wrappings here. Trying not to overlap it. It's not particularly cool if you overlap them. You see these in the books, if you look in the book or online about whipping in the knot section. And there, I just need to put that through that loop right there. Okay. Now I'm going to pull on the other end here and close that loop around this loose end, right? Just going to keep making sure it's nice and tight. And then I'm going to pull it inside and underneath my whipping just a little bit so that the ends get tucked in nice and tight underneath. So now you've got a whipping that looks come on now, lovely scissors. Looks finished, properly finished off. Okay, I have to talk to Miriam about her scissors. All right. So you've seen I've done that on that one. Okay, it takes a few seconds or a few minutes. At first you'll be all butter fingers, but after you get the hang of it, you can do a nice, neat job in a fairly quick time. All right, so you would finish your knot board, and it should look nice. Now there's a couple of different ways you can approach this. You can either do a series of different knots like I've done here. There's my finished figure 8. It's fallen on the floor again. Or you can do one knot and do a series of sort of stop motion pieces to show the different steps of tying a knot, particular knot. Okay, so let's say we had the reef knot. All right, and on your board you just wanted to do the reef knot, but you're going to do it in a couple of logical sequences, right? So you would take your rope, whatever you had, your string, and the first thing you would do would maybe show it two ends like that. That would be your first step, right? And then the next thing you're going to show is crossed. And that would be a separate set. And then you'd show it passed underneath. And that would be a third set. And then you cross it over top, fourth set. And then you make the final wrap underneath. And now you've got your reef knot. In fact, that turned out to be a granny knot, but let's just tie it the right way. Sorry. Okay. You've got your reef knot as the fifth place one. Okay? Could be the center one. 1, 2, 3, 4, finished knot. Okay? So there's some knots here. You can do one knot. And I want it done very nicely. Okay? Then what you're going to do, and I'll show you a finished one a little bit later, is I want you to put some information on the boards. Okay, for example, back to this knot board, you would just simply put the name of the knot under this, okay? Maybe the name and the use, okay? Overhand knot, commonly called the shoelace knot, used for tying your shoes and other things, okay? The reef knot is a parcel knot for tying two ends of similar rope together around something. Bowline knot, okay? And the surgeon's knot, and the figure 8 knot, which is a stopper knot. It's designed to not let the rope run out through the end of a pulley or a grommet or an eyelet. So you would have that information, not much more than that information. Don't want a lot of words here to clutter it all up. I want it to be clean and simple. Of course, that would be done in your best printing using 2 light lines carefully drawn with rulers, about 4 millimeters apart, and each letter is a capital letter, and each letter touches the top line and the bottom line, at least several points, right? We've gone over that in class before. So these tags should look really nice when you're finished up with them, nice and clean and well proportioned. And somewhere down here, your name, first and last name. Remember, no name, no mark, okay? Now, when you're finished, what I want you to do is take a picture of it with you, your knot board, and one of your parents, and you can send that in to me so that I can give you a mark for it of some sort. I don't need to see the final thing in person, but I do want to see that you have finished it, and fairly quickly. I'll give you a timeline a little bit later. So that is basically the project. 2 ways of doing it, as I said, a series of different knots, okay, or one single knot being tied, and you're showing me several stages along the way to a finished knot. Yes? Okay. Now this size is a fairly good size, but you don't have to use anything this big. You could go a little bit bigger. I wouldn't go too much bigger. This size measures out to be 34 centimeters by 24 centimeters, or 9.5 inches by 13.5 inches. Just something to go by there. Now, I think I've finished everything. I hope I didn't take too long. There's lots of information out on the internet. Just make sure that your parents know that you're going on the internet to look for knots, and I think everything will be a great success. Hope you enjoy this. Knots are really, really useful. They've been around for a long time. I think I learned, hello, Miss Kisses. The other day on the internet, I was reading about Otzi, the Iceman, the man they found from back about 5,000 or 6,000 years ago, who got caught in a glacier and was frozen over until the glacier recently receded. As the global warming has warmed up the glaciers have gone back and revealed a whole bunch of stuff. But this particular find was very, very interesting. And he's 5,000 years old at least. And I think he had 24 different types of knots on his clothing and his paraphernalia. All right, I think the cat approves of the knot. I think she's going to eat it here in a minute. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Have a good day.